What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here with another college football team preview. Our goal with this series is to provide in-depth roster analysis and expectations ahead of the 2026 season for each college football team. So if this is the kind of in-depth analysis you like, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like on this video, and checking out some of our other in-depth content. All right, let's get into it. Texas football 2026, obviously making a lot of investments into the program and currently hoping to get back to that college football playoff. We're going to talk about what to expect this year with a brief look back last year and get into coaching changes, roster movement, everything you need to know about Texas. That starts with their recruiting. Here is where Texas stands overall the last 3 years. The graph is showing you their retention numbers. This is an elite program with elite resources. There's no way around that. You look at Texas overall, this team is actually the number one talent acquirer in the country. That is a blend of transfer portal and recruiting. When you blend them both, this team is number one. Recruiting specifically, they averaged the class of 4.7 over the last 3 years. Those classes were 7th, 1st, and 6th. That only puts them behind Alabama and Georgia in just pure recruiting. And again, the transfer portal, even better than those schools, which puts them at number one. They also have strong retention. This team kept 81% of last year's class, that huge recruiting class they took, and they kept 45% of 2024. And if that seems low, remember, Texas can pick and choose the recruits they want to keep, and they push a lot of kids to the door, which is not the case at most programs. So with this approach, Texas finished 10-3 last year. They lost that premier game to Ohio State by a touchdown, but they had an 82% post-game win expectancy. A lot of people don't realize Texas analytically should have won the game. Couple other losses, Florida, Georgia. Best win was maybe Texas A&M or Oklahoma. Beat Vanderbilt by a field goal. All that sounds good, but they also had a number of close calls, including Kentucky, where they won by a field goal with a 16% post-game win expectancy. They beat Mississippi State by a touchdown with a 54% post-game win expectancy. And even that Vanderbilt game was pretty close. Altogether, this was maybe a disappointment according to expectations. What were those expectations? Well, Texas thought they were going to be in the college football playoff, so they missed that. But overall, Sark, he's brought this team out of the dumps, basically. 3 straight double-digit win seasons, a college football playoff appearance. They went to the semifinal that year. I mean, he's been a pretty good coach for this team since he took the job. Previously, Alabama's OC comes from that offensive background we've known for years. He calls plays for this team. Kyle Flood does return, so obviously this is a collaborative process on the offensive side. But last year, Texas pretty pass-heavy. I don't think they wanted to be this pass-heavy 51% of the time. They're above average in pace, not by a lot. They still finished 25th in total offensive efficiency. The only thing that really trailed was the run game, coming in at 54th, which was tied to the offensive line. Obviously, that was up and down a little bit at various points. Their defensive coordinator left for the NFL, so they hire Will Muschamp, who had been working as Georgia's defensive coordinator. And then he decided to take a step back and move into an analyst role. The reason cited was to spend more time with his family, but it appears Muschamp getting the itch again. Now he'll coach the defense. A couple new position coaches. Jabbar Jalou comes over as RB coach. Texas poached him from Florida, not Georgia. And Florida's had some awesome running backs over the last couple of years. They also get Blake Gideon as the secondary coach. He was Georgia Tech's DC. So they did hire some pretty high-profile position coaches for this team. And overall, this just means Texas willing to make the investment needed to win national championships. That should come as no surprise. So let's take a look at the roster. As we pull this up on the screen, you are going to see a couple things that need explaining. First, among the players, anyone in blue is a high-profile freshman, 5-star or 4-star. Players in yellow are transfers. And then the value score you're going to see on the screen, that's a 0 to 100 score, just trying to evaluate the players, 100 being the best. Those are your all-pros, all-conference, potential first-round draft picks. Anyone closer to 50 is a middling player, and then 0 would be like guys that shouldn't be on the field. Texas doesn't have any of those. So this is the number one QB room in the country. especially in the SEC. I think maybe you could argue Oregon's might be a little better. Those are all arguments. I think there's very clear like top 4, top 5 QB rooms, and Texas is very much a part of that. And it starts with Arch Manning, 5-star, Heisman favorite, presumed number 1 overall pick, good size with him, 6'4", 219, excellent athleticism. He was second on the team in rushing last year at 10 scores on the ground. But the passing did take a little bit. He completed 61% of his passes, 7.8 yards per attempt, just over 3,100 yards, 26 touchdowns, 7 picks. And the real concern was some negative plays. 19 big-time throws, 17 turnover-worthy plays, 22 sacks. That actually wasn't that bad because of how many times they dropped him back to pass. All this to say, Arch Manning got better throughout the season too. Everyone was critical of him weeks 1, 2, 3, especially after Ohio State. This team vastly improved throughout the season, and now they're looking to make more improvements, and largely that's going to come through offensive ecosystem and what they added in the portal. Behind him, depth should be very good. If there is an injury of a 5-star freshman, Diabell, he's the 18th ranked recruit in this class, very athletic. You have KJ Lacey back. He was a top 150 recruit last year. And if either of those young players aren't ready, MJ Morris from Coastal Carolina is there. He's an unlikely backup option. But again, this is the number 1 QB room in the SEC, not by a wide margin. Of course, there's a lot of good QBs, Ole Miss, for example, but this is still a unit that is at the top of the country and is an asset for Texas. Wide receiver should also be very good for this team. They basically took their receiving room, decided to remake it. They literally ran Parker Livingstone and DeAndre Moore out of town. Livingston's at Oklahoma now. Moore's at Colorado. And they're going to roll out Ryan Wingo again. He's a player they elected to keep, former 4-star, last year's leading receiver. 834 yards, nearly 2.4 yards per route. Those are all elite numbers. He's a perimeter receiver, and now will be in year 3 as a starter. It's a great place to start. And then they go out and get Cam Coleman, the crown jewel of the transfer portal. He's a former 5-star, went to Auburn, and that offense was so inept that he struggled with counting stats. If you watched Auburn, you could clearly see he was the best player on the field. He made some unbelievable one-handed catches that were just prayers tossed up by Arnold last year. He's 6'3", 201, still caught 56 balls for 708 yards at 1.7 yards per route in that offense that was just egregious. He's a perimeter receiver, and I can't wait to see what he does with Texas, finally playing in a real offense after spending the first 2 years in that dumpster fire. Wide receiver 3 probably goes to a player they brought in last year, Emmett Mosley from Stanford. He was hurt for about the first month of the season, jumps back into the offense for 408 yards, 2 yards per route. He was also a perimeter receiver 77% of the time. So they have a lot of redundancy there, but it seems like they're going to move Mosley to the slot, which makes sense to me. And if there is an injury, Mosley can't make the jump for whatever reason. Depth here is amazing. Khalil Lockett played 43 snaps. He was a 5-star freshman last year. You have gadget guy Ryan Niblett, former 4-star. Dalen McCutcheon played a fair amount. Michael Terry, they're all on the roster. Plus, they add 3 more 4-star freshmen in Jermaine Bishop, Cohen Brown, and Chris Stewart. So yeah, depth is awesome. Overall talent, awesome. Currently ranked this unit 3rd nationally, 1st in the SEC. It's an amazing pass game with QB and receiver together. Now, tight end, they lose Jack Endries. He was a 7th-round pick. Jordan Washington, one of their 4-star young players, decided to transfer to North Carolina. That leaves Spencer Shannon, who is enormous, 6'7", 252, who played 207 snaps. He's a good blocker. And he only ran 24 routes last year, which makes sense at that size. He went catchless, so we don't really know, but we do know he can block. They also add Michael Masunis from Michigan State, also a blocker, 6'5", 260. Now, he did have 19 catches. He's the early favorite to lead the position, but he's also primarily a blocker. And then they get back some youthful players. 4-star sophomore Nick Townsend played 112 snaps, caught 2 passes. You have Amari Winston back. He played 27 snaps. Even with all the change, you still have Texas ranked 6th nationally and 2nd in overall tight end rankings, and that's just from what they've done in the portal and the elite recruits they've continually brought in for this unit. Offensive line, this unit was a slight concern last year. They were 45th in pass blocking, 26th in run blocking. They basically returned both tackles in their center, deciding to turn over every single guard they had, basically. They lose 4 of them. DJ Campbell somehow got drafted. Cole Hudson graduated. Connor Stroh's with Kansas, and Nick Brooks is with Alabama. So their first returning starters, their center, Connor Robertson, good size with him, 577 snaps, 13 pressures, no sacks. Great place to start. Trevor Goosby's back at left tackle. Enormous player, 6'7", 312, former 4-star. He was the best O-lineman they had last year. 16 pressures allowed, elite run blocking numbers. He's locked in. You also get back right tackle Brendan Baker. He's likely going to move to guard. He's a former 5-star, 873 snaps, no sacks allowed, good run blocker. So that's 3 players. Well, what happens at right tackle if Baker's now going to guard? They bring in Melvin Siani from Wake Forest, 6'6", 302, played with Temple in 2024, then Wake Forest, elite pass blocking numbers, only 9 pressures last year. Good in the run game, too. Just needs to transition from the ACC to the SEC. And that leaves one more guard spot. Lawrence Seymour from Western Kentucky, the early favorite. Originally began his career with Miami, so we're not talking about a bad recruit. Just transferred down for more playing time. Got that with Akron and Western Kentucky. Only allowed 8 pressures last year in Conference USA. Will need to make the jump back up. But if you can't, you have a 4-star junior in Jaden Chapman. He's played a little bit. Redshirt freshman transfer, Jonte Newman from Texas A&M. He's another 4-star. The tackle position's in a pretty good spot, as is the interior. Like Paris Patterson from SMU comes in, good recruit there. Dylan Sikorsky comes in from Oregon State. He's a bad recruit, but he's already played 442 snaps at a pretty good level. Jackson Christian, top 600 recruit. This is a pretty good offensive line. I wish their recruiting was a little bit better. For example, it trails like what they've done at receiver or defensive line, but ultimately they've papered over that enough in the portal where I'm not really worried. The top of the unit is the best in the SEC, and it ranks 5th nationally. If Texas doesn't sustain an injury, this should be an elite offensive line protecting Arch Manning and paving the way for a run game, which should be improved. The approach was interesting. They ran C.J. Baxter and Quintravion Wisner out of town. Those players are at Kentucky and Florida State now. And they bring in transfers Raleek Brown and Hollywood Smothers. Basically, they took elite recruits, pushed them out because they didn't produce. I don't know if they correctly diagnosed that. Clearly, they did some stuff on the offensive line, hired a new running backs coach. They turned it all over. They didn't try to diagnose what the problem was. They just said, it's all a problem. Let's get rid of it all. So this could work, obviously, with everything new. Raleek Brown from Arizona State's a former 4-star, played with USC, couldn't really get on the field, so he transfers down. Rushes for over 1,100 yards, 6.1 yards per carry with 33 catches. The negative plays were a problem. He had 4 drops and 2 fumbles, but still, as long as you clean those up, he forced 55 missed tackles. And then you also bring in Hollywood Smothers. He was another Oklahoma 4-star, couldn't really play there, transfers down, 5.9 yards per carry, 37 catches. This guy did not have any negative plays. He did not have a drop or a fumble last year, and he also forced 49 missed tackles. Luckily, there's 2 of them. I'm a little worried about size for both. Neither even cracks 200 pounds, but these are 2 elite running backs up at the top. Of course, the recruits are still there. 4-star freshman Derek Cooper's there. They also retained James Simon, played 49 snaps last year, another 4-star. RB Room ranks 5th nationally, 4th in the SEC. It's another absolutely awesome unit. And before we get to the defense, this video is brought to you by our college football summer guide. We've been hard at work trying to get this to you ever since the spring. And what this includes for just $50, projections for every single game. That's a score, a total, and a spread. That means win totals for every single team, all 138. There will also be player projections for those of you involved in best ball. That's down to the statistical level. Think passing yards, passing touchdowns, etc. Depth charts for all 138 teams, which includes our value grading score. You've seen that on the screen in this very video. You'll get written analysis for most teams and players, which updates constantly throughout the summer. And that is a real separator for us versus the competition. Whenever news breaks, that will be immediately updated. You also get Discord access, which allows you to chop it up on any team, player, anytime there's a story. A lot of like-minded people in there just like you. You can also ask any question. Those will be addressed either here or in the Discord itself. And if you'd like to support in a smaller way, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel. That helps show YouTube that this content is actually worthwhile, and it gets us in front of new viewers in the long run, which just helps us keep doing this. You can also hype the video, leave a comment. Those are great ways to support the channel. And thank you if you've done any of that. It truly does help the channel grow. Last thing, if you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, back to the video. Defense. Edge group should be awesome. You lose Ethan Burke and Trey Moore. Trey Moore was a 4th-round draft pick, but you still get back 5-star Colin Simmons. This team already was 25th in run defense, 18th in pass rush last year. Colin Simmons had 59 pressures, 15.5 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, and strong run defense numbers. Even just starting there, he is one of the few players that breaks our model, and his value scores above 100. This is designed to stop at 100, but occasionally there's just a player that has numbers so ridiculous, it breaks the model. Colin Simmons is one of them. This is a guy that has potential like top 5 NFL draft stock in the coming years if he decides to come out. They also have 5-star sophomore Lance Jackson, who had a little bit of a cameo appearance last year, 261 snaps, 17 pressures on that. He's 260, 6'5". This is another elite player. They also get back Brad Spence, who I'm not 100% sure plays the edge. He was like a linebacker edge hybrid, and they're a little thinner at linebacker, so I think he might move back. But anyway, 19 pressures, good run defense. In clear pass down situations, he's more likely to move forward than backward. But he's former Arkansas transfer, good rotational guy here. But the reason I think he might play linebacker, you have a sophomore 5-star in Justice Terry, 73 snaps last year. 4-star sophomore in Zeno Imiozulu, who played a fair amount, 13 pressures for him. And then you have Colton Vasek, Smith Orogbo, 5-star freshman Richard Wesley, 4-star freshman Kosiak Pala. There's like 7 guys on this team that would legitimately start for most teams in the country. Inside, couple changes. Cole Brevard's gone, but you still have 3 of your top 4. Former Ohio State transfer Hiro Kanu's back. He was really good in run defense, especially on 476 snaps. Also had 20 interior pressures. Murad Watson, the former Syracuse transfer, is back. He's a big run defender. We saw his efficiency drop in the SEC, but that is to be expected. And then Alex January also played 345 snaps. Pretty good run defense. Not the best pass rusher, but not every interior player is going to provide that. They add Ian Geffrard from Arkansas, 6'5", huge player. He was 387. So we're looking at probably an early down run defender and nothing more, but another good rotational piece. Depth pieces include James Johnson, Jamarian Carlton, 2 4-stars joining the program. Zion Williams is a redshirt freshman 4-star who transferred in from LSU. And then you have Myron Charles, Josiah Sharma. This defensive line is full of talent. They are 7th nationally and 2nd in the SEC coming into the season. And when you have a defensive line that formidable, it can legitimately just wreck games. Another reason I'm pretty optimistic on Texas. When you get to linebacker, this is another top 5 unit in the country. They rank 4th nationally and 2nd in the SEC, which is crazy considering they had a 2nd-round draft pick in Anthony Hill, and they pushed Leona Leafau out the door. He's now in Colorado. The first place, you look, Ty Anthony Smith, a 4-star junior, was already pretty good last year on 450 snaps. A really good run defender, 60 tackles. In coverage, he struggled a little bit. 246 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 1 PBU. But that's just going to happen. Not every linebacker is solid in coverage. You can move him forward a little bit rather than back. And that's largely because they went out and got stud Pitt transfer Rasheem Biles. This was an elite 2-year starter. 101 tackles last year, 17 tackles for loss. Amazing coverage numbers. He very much is going to be your main coverage backer. Expect him with a lot of responsibilities covering tight ends, running backs. 169 scoreless yards last year. And then you're probably going to see at least some Tyler Atkinson, the 5-star freshman. 5-stars just typically play right away. So even if it's not in a full-time role, kind of like what Colin Simmons did, you should see Atkinson play a lot. And we saw a lot of that from Texas last year, like Justice Terry did this. Probably won't be a clear starter, but I would expect to see him somewhat. And then you've just got a slew of transfers that can fill in when needed. Darius Snow from Michigan State started in 2021, but has been very injured since then. played fairly well the last couple of years, over 200 snaps in each. Justin Cryer from Florida State comes in. He's played 737 snaps the last 3 years, decent efficiency. Marcus Boswell from Akron. These are your depth pieces, but overall, it's the top 5 linebacker room. And you get to coverage. A lot of replacements need to be made. This team was 34th last year, probably their weakest unit on defense, but still very good. They lose Michael Toff, 5th-round pick, Malik Muhammad, 4th-round pick, Jalen Gullabo he was a UDFA. First place, they have a returning starters in their nickel, Grayson Littlejohn, 6 feet, 180, sophomore 4-star. The reason Littlejohn is so good for this defense is he's an elite run defender. And when you're playing nickel and you have teams that run out of spread, if your nickel who's playing the slot can actually fill in run defense, it just allows you to be multiple on defense. So 47 tackles for him was great. In coverage, he was a little bit of a gambler, 424 yards, but 0 touchdowns, had 2 interceptions, 3 PBUs. Again, he was young. Probably gets a little bit better in year 2. Bo Masco from Rutgers should play 1 boundary spot. He's a 2-year starter. Pretty good numbers for Rutgers defense. They had a lot of problems. He wasn't one of them. Did give up some touchdowns, 4 of them, and 357 yards, but 1 interception, 3 PBUs. He should be solid. Then you have 5-star sophomore Cade Phillips. Played 256 snaps last year, 4 PBUs, just elite potential with him as a 5-star sophomore now. And depth should be pretty good. Warren Robertson, Kobe Black, Wardell Mack have all played between 100 and 200 snaps. They're all 4-stars. Obviously, there was a problem with every one of them in some respect. A lot of it was just youthful mistakes, but enough problems to go out and get like a Masco. They have 3 more 4-star freshmen coming in. It's a pretty good corner room. Maybe has more questions than some other positions, but solid overall. Safety, you get back 4-star Jelani McDonald. He has started the last 2 years. He led Texas with 80 tackles last year, good in coverage, only 20 catches allowed, didn't even allow 200 yards, 3 picks, 2 PBUs. I think you have 2 options at your second safety spot in Xavier Filsame and Derek Williams. Both of them are elite recruits. Filsame is a 5-star. Derek Williams is a 4-star. Both played more than 200 snaps last year. And Williams has kind of seen his efficiency drop a little bit, which is why it opened the door for Filsame. But 2 guys with good size. Wouldn't be surprised to see either star here. And then you have a 5-star sophomore, Jonah Williams, 71 snaps last year. Some depth 4-stars like Jordan Johnson, Rebel, Zealous Hicks. The secondary is ranked 5th nationally, 2nd in the SEC. As for special teams, should be better this year. You have Spectic coming in from Memphis as your kicker. He was elite last year. Johnny Spectic was perfect on extra points. He was 15 of 20 on field goals. But man, Memphis asked him to do a lot of difficult stuff. He was 4 or 5 on 50-plus yard field goals. So this is a guy that is out there kicking from range, and Texas surely will be happy to have that. Let's take a look and see where Texas stands overall. So we're going to put together a handy graph. This is in reference to all of the SEC teams. There are 16 of them. You're going to see Texas at the top of almost every category in this conference. Again, we have Texas as the number 1 team in the country. They narrowly edge out Oregon State, Ohio State, some other SEC teams, and Notre Dame. Their line, 9.5 wins. It is juiced slightly to the under. Our projections have them at nearly 10.2 wins, so not a big difference, and especially not enough for me to take. A couple of reasons why. If there's an injury to a key player like a Colin Simmons or an Arch Manning, yeah, depth is pretty good, and it likely means you're still maybe in playoff contention, still probably a very good team in this league. But do you have the chance to actually win the SEC? Do you have the chance to eclipse 9.5 wins or get to the college football playoff and actually make a run? The answer is probably not. It's not out of the question, but it leaves Texas a little fragile. And part of the fragility just comes from this conference being very good. Now, Texas' schedule. They're playing Ohio State in non-con again. This time it's at home. We have them around 6.5-point favorites, which is a little out ahead of market. We're slightly ahead on Texas and slightly behind on Ohio State, which is how we get this number. Other non-con games, Texas State and UTSA from the G6. And then you get into conference play, which is by no means easy. You have some pretty tough road trips in the last month of the season to LSU and Texas A&M. This Longhorns roster is better than both on paper, but those still aren't easy. You also have your usual Oklahoma game. Tennessee's on the road. You bring Ole Miss into your building. So overall, it is still a tough schedule, even though you don't see Alabama, you don't see Georgia on the schedule, which opens the path to maybe eclipsing 9.5 wins, something like hitting the 10 mark. Again, this is the most talented team in the SEC, and you don't have maybe the second and third most talented teams on your schedule, which at least is beneficial. And I'm talking the SEC. Obviously, Ohio State and non-con kind of makes up for that a little bit. The expectation for Texas should be playoff with potential national championship aspirations. This is an amazing roster overall. All right, we'll switch teams. I'll check the chat quickly. Looks like there's a few of you